Thank you, everybody, for joining us this evening for Fiscal Year 2026 public budget hearing for school year 2025-2026. My name is Lauren Brown. I'm the Deputy Chief of Family and Community Engagement and the Office of External Affairs for DC Public Schools. I'm also joined by Chancellor Louis Farabee and Patrick Ashley, our Deputy Chancellor for the Office of Finance and Operations here at DCPS. We're excited to be with you here today. This hearing is an important opportunity to hear testimony from parents in the community as we hear about your priorities. So, I want to go over our agenda with you for today. We are going to highlight investments that support strategic priorities as outlined in our capital commitment. We'll listen to testimony from stakeholders to inform our budget planning, and we will also share an overall timeline for the FY26 budget development process and engagement. I'll share with you our agenda for today. We will first begin with an introduction and overview by Chancellor Farabee and myself, and that will be followed by our public testimony. We'll be hearing, as I mentioned, from community members, from students, parents, partner organizations during this period. If, as a speaker, if you're experiencing any issues with connecting this evening, we ask that you please connect by sending an email to ceo.info@k12.dc.gov. And I'll repeat that one more time, ceo.info@k12.dc.gov. We do have ASL interpretation available as well as Spanish interpretation. Elise, would you mind coming off mic to make an announcement in Spanish, please?
Buenas tardes a todos y todas. Si alguien de ustedes necesita interpretación al español, lastimosamente no podemos mandar el enlace porque está bloqueado el chat, pero el enlace para acceder la versión en español está, pues es el enlace de Zoom. Se puede acceder en la misma página de Eventbrite de este evento que usaron para acceder a este mismo enlace. Entonces, si están aquí, pero necesitan escuchar en español, por favor, vaya a la página de Eventbrite y haga clic en el enlace de Zoom para poder escuchar en español. Gracias.
Thank you so much, Elise. And now with that, I will turn it over to our Chancellor, Dr. Louis Farabee.
Thank you, Lauren. I appreciate the introduction and getting us started this evening. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening. I want to start by acknowledging the valuable service of tonight's witness and helping provide information to our community. Your unique perspectives are important to this topic and allows us to best support our young Washingtonians. Last week, we gathered at Brooklyn Middle School to engage in a discussion around school year 25-26 budget, and this evening is a continuation of that conversation. I've had the honor of engaging with our community this year, whether it's been around our strategic plan process, our student and parent advisory boards, and many others around our budget, and I will continue to do so. First of all, our students, our families, and our staff have expressed interest in several important investments that I want to highlight, including our after-school programming and offering a diversity of programming across grade bands, especially with our middle school age student. And so anyone here who have seen these programs, you know that they're very transformative for our students and provide additional care for students after school for families. Another area of interest that we've heard is career and technical education. And we know that this is a huge contributor to our scholars' success in thinking about their post-secondary future. Career technical education, also known as CTE, ensures that our students have training and the education needed to succeed in college and career after graduating DCPS, and especially for those students who don't want to go directly into the workforce. Safety has also been highlighted as another top priority. We continue to collaborate across government to ensure that our campuses are safe for staff and students, and there are also safety measures for students staff and families to and from school. And then lastly, we are continuing our investments in math. That's from early numeracy programs to our pathways program that we're preparing students for middle school algebra, and now our district-wide math competitions. We're excited about the way this journey is changing mindsets around math at every grade level and across every ward. I do want to highlight for you our capital commitment for the district in this capital commitment 2023 to 2028, which is a continuation of our strategic planning strategy around our 5-year goals and blueprint for excellence. DCPS continues to be grounded in our equity imperative. This emphasizes that students furthest from opportunity must be reflected in our budget, and that is for fiscal year 26 as well. To meet the goals of this plan, we know we have to focus on intensive targeted supports to eliminate barriers to academic and social success for our special student populations. We've also made bold commitments to value our people, whether that's the professional learning experiences, the wellness of our staff, the leadership pathways within DCPS, and for our educators to be the best workforce in the nation. We're also committed to partner with our community. We know we cannot do this work alone. This partnership includes our families, other agencies in DC government, local businesses, and community-based organizations. All are critical to the work to ensuring that our students and families get what they need. I want to dive deeper into our capital commitment 2023 to 2028 and share a little bit more about our goals for achievement and our strategic priorities. Our plan is organized into 3 big goal areas, and then there are some measures associated with each of these that I want to talk a little bit more about today because I believe it provides focus for our budget discussion. For the first goal, it is succeeding academically. And as I mentioned earlier, we're focused on math. Here, we want all of our students to be able to write and read well, and we also want to be strong in math. And again, we know math is important because the data shows that math is what needed for our students to succeed the most, and is one of the areas where we've been sluggish in our recovery. To do this well, we believe that we need to continue, as I mentioned earlier, to build a pathway to 8th grade algebra. So those students who have the skills and the interest, that we're able to offer this advanced math. In addition to advanced math, financial literacy is also something we want to focus on, and also data science courses. We know that more advanced opportunities for math, especially in high school, will prepare our students for graduation and also their post-secondary journey. Next, our second priority is our students feeling connected to school. We know that our students are the best when they're connected to their school. They have relationships with their peers and the adults. We also believe that the meaningful after-school programs that I mentioned earlier are also important to student well-being and those connections being made in school. When students are more connected to school, they have better academic outcomes, and also their attendance is improved. We're investing in a number of after-school activities, enrichment programs to ensure that our middle school students are prepared for high school, and all of our cornerstone experiences also create experiential learning and learning outside of the classroom. And our third strategic priority is making certain that our students are prepared for what's next. Now, that's just not graduation. That is every phase of the DCPS journey, beginning in pre-K 3, pre-K 4, transitioning into kindergarten, transitioning into middle school and 6th grade, and transitioning into 9th grade at high school. Every key transition throughout the DCPS journey and beyond, we want our students to be prepared. We're doing that by ensuring that our scholars are graduating on time and prepared for focus for post-secondary success. And we've done that through how we prepare students for graduating on time, and we've seen an increased graduation rate over the last 5 years. We also want to ensure that our pre-K students are acquiring the critical skills academically and also socially. And we've invested in transition activities for our students transition into 6th grade via our 6th grade academy, and then into 9th grade into our 9th grade academy. But we know that the work is not done here. There's still a lot of work to do. There's a lot for us to be proud of, and we're preparing our students for what's next. But that's where we want to hear from you. How do we get better? How do we better serve our students, and how we deliver on these 3 goals that we set out as our strategic priorities are in front of us for the next 5 years for excellence. It's my pleasure now to turn it back over to Lauren. She's going to talk a little bit how parents and caregivers can be more involved in the budget process and to review some of the logistics for tonight's public hearing. Also, I just wanted to highlight before we get into the discussion, we've laid out the next steps in this journey in our budget development process, beginning with the public hearing, and then we have for you what to expect in November, December, and also information on LSAT engagement, and then finally what to expect when we deliver budgets in the spring and late winter. Thank you.
Chancellor Farabee. As our budget planning continues, we encourage you to get involved in your school's local school advisory team, also known as the LSATs. LSATs are school-based advisory groups that are made up of parents, staff, community members, and they work with principals on topics including identifying what schools' priorities are and developing the school's budget. For a little bit more on LSATs, they meet, typically they meet monthly throughout the school year. They work on a range of topics from school culture to student attendance. At each meeting, there's a brief update on the school's comprehensive school plan, which are the school goals. And elections for chairs are held at the end of each school year and voted on by their peers. Staff elect staff who participate, and parents elect parents. The principal and the school's administrative staff host the election process with assistance from the school's community action team member. Each school should have a functioning LSAT by no later than October of each year. And during the months of January and February, the primary topic of discussion at LSAT meetings is the school budget for the next fiscal year. To support these conversations, as I mentioned, the DCPS Community Action Team and the school finance team will host webinars on the budget process, as well as the LSAT election process. Please be on the lookout for more additional information in our LSAT newsletters. And if you're interested in more information, you can contact your principal or also email lsat@help@k12.dc.gov for more info. Okay, so let's get into some of the logistics for this evening. We ask that for witnesses testifying, please keep your testimony to 3 minutes. We will be providing you with a gentle nudge to let you know when your time is up. Groups, if there's a group present, please identify one speaker. There will be one person who should speak on behalf of your group. And then as a reminder, please speak slowly and clearly. We are recording testimony for the official record, and we really want to make sure that everything you've said is captured. A few other notes for the process this evening. I will be announcing the speaker list in groups of about 5 or 6 at a time. A member of our team should be contacting you via text to alert you that your time is coming soon. When it's your turn to testify, we will unmute you, but you should turn your camera on so that we may see you. When your time is up, please remember to turn your camera off and mute yourself. If you have questions or are having difficulties, again, please email ceo.info@k12.dc.gov, ceo.info@k12.dc.gov, or you can text 202-558-8436. Once again, 202-558-8436. Now, I will do my best to pronounce your names properly, but please feel free to correct me if I mispronounce it. I mean, as a reminder, I'll call groups of 5 or 6, and then I will call up each speaker in that group when it's your time. Lastly, we will be recording this evening's hearing, and it will be posted on our YouTube channel in both English and in Spanish. Okay, now the first group will be Kathy Riley, William Kane, Lucy Santiago, Kimberly Sumi, and Ligia Stearman. Kathy Riley, you will be up first. Is Kathy on? Okay. Know that I saw you present. We could help to take her off mute. Thank you for your patience. We just want to make sure. Kathy, could you try unmuting yourself too, please? You for your patience. We're having a little bit of a technical issue here because I know I can see that you're here and your mic and camera are enabled, Kathy. Okay, let's try moving to the next one and see if we're running into the same issue. Give me 1 second. Okay, William Kane, are you present?
Yes, I am present.
Wonderful. William, go ahead and get started. Thank you.
All right. Hello, my name is William Kane. I am 8 years old and also a third grader at Marie H. Reed Elementary School. I'm in the dual language program where I learn Spanish and English. I have a question for DCPS Chancellor Dr. Farabee. Are you going to follow the school's first and budgeting law? As a kid, I am expected to follow the rules at school, at home, and in my community. And you are supposed to be an example and a good role model for students. Don't you want to be a champion, a helper? Because that's not what I'm seeing. I'm seeing someone who knows what they're doing wrong and what they can fix, but decides to disobey the law. For example, if I was in your position, I would fix what was happening. I would obey the law. I would be a role model, and I would do my part. So, Dr. Farabee, can you please obey the law now and make sure our schools have funding? The school's first and budgeting law is important because it makes sure we have enough teachers. It provides equitable and stable funding at our school. It supports programs like food prints, and it supports students like myself and my friends. I'm going to talk about the impact our school budget has on kids. The best parts of our school are the fun parts, where you don't realize that you're learning. I'm very upset that school is going to be boring if we don't have any budget for the fun parts. For example, Food Prints. Food Prints is a program that is based at our school. They teach us about gardening, nutrition, cooking, and all kinds of other stuff in both Spanish and English. We learn math when we measure the recipe. We learn about compost, and now we have a compost bin in the cafeteria. But the best part about Food Prints is when we get to eat what we cook. I would be very, very sad and disappointed if we didn't have any money to support Food Prints next year at Marie Reed. We also need money in our school budget for field trips. Field trips are fun and can teach us a lot. This year we don't have any money in our school budget for field trip buses. It will be nearly impossible to go on field trips further away from our neighborhood. Last year in second grade, my class took buses to the Imagination Stage. Everyone loved the performance of Cinderella, and it was our favorite field trip. I'm sad I won't get to have those experiences in third grade. Lastly, I want to tell you about PAWS. PAWS stands for Panthers Always Walk Strong. Panthers are a school mascot. Pause teaches us about things like courage, honesty, bravery, and perseverance and responsibility. We have a pause lesson once a month. I'm really upset that because of budget cuts last year, we lost a social worker position at Marie Reed. I hope the budgets don't get cut and that our school will still be fun. I hope we still have food prints and that we still have field trips. Please make sure we get the money we need and that we don't get any more cuts in our budget. I expect the Chancellor to follow the school's first in budgeting law. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, William. Next up, next up will be Lucy Santiago. I have one more announcement for Lucy Santiago.
We're here.
Great.
Hello, my name is Lucy Santiago. I'm 9 years old and I'm in the 4th grade at Marie H. Reed Elementary School. I live in Ward 1. I have a 7-year-old brother who is in 2nd grade at Marie Reed. We have both attended Marie Reed since pre-K3. We love our school. I'm here today because I'm worried about the programs that will be cut out of our school and the teachers we might lose if we do not get more funding. I'm glad I can be here today to speak for my community. Last year, we did not get enough money for the school year. I'm very concerned about having enough money for our school. This year, there were problems paying for Remind, which is an app that teachers use to communicate with families. Marie Reed and other schools need to have money to pay for Remind and other apps like Imagine Espanol and IXL. Can't DCPS get group discounts for these? Last year, I told you about Food Prints, which is a program that teaches us about nature and how things grow. What is even cooler is that Food Prints helps us grow food in the garden in the back of our school, and then we harvest the food and learn yummy recipes to make with the food we grow in our own school garden. Have you ever tried making beet brownies? That was probably the coolest recipe that we made so far. They were really yummy. Please prioritize enrichment programs like Food Prints in the budget. Last year, I also said I was concerned about losing funding for social and emotional support teachers who lead PAWS, or Panthers Always Walk Strong. We did lose some of these teachers due to budget cuts, and we are at risk of losing more. The teachers who lead PAWS are very special to us. One of our favorite PAWS teachers could not come back this year due to budget cuts. It is sad for her, but even sadder for some of my friends who need her. Another thing that helps us learn in a fun way is field trips. This year, in 4th grade, I've been learning about slavery in the Americas. Wouldn't it make sense for my grade to be able to visit the African American History Museum on a field trip to learn more about slavery with African Americans? Please make sure our schools have enough money to pay for these types of trips. I love Marie Reed, and these programs make school fun for me and my friends. Last year, we got some of the money we needed to pay for programs that are important to kids at my school, but not enough and too late. Please do not cut funding to our schools. Please follow the Schools First in Budgeting Act. Please remember that teachers earn and deserve a raise each year, and schools need money to pay for this. Please give schools money to help them buy online programs and enough computers for all DCPS students. Thank you for listening to me and for giving me your time to have a voice in this process. The decisions you make will impact me, my teachers, and all the other DCPS students. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucy. Next up will be Kimberly Sumi or Sumi. Kimberly?
Good evening. Hello. Good evening, Chancellor Farabee, colleagues, and community members. My name is Kimberly Sumi, and I've served as the athletic trainer at Anacostia High School for 33 and a half years. I'm here tonight to urge you to take immediate action to prioritize the health and safety of DCPS student athletes. Currently, DCPS employs only 14 athletic trainers, a number unchanged since 1991. despite the addition of over 1,200 additional athletic teams across middle and high schools. This shortfall leaves many practices where most injuries occur without proper medical oversight. The stakes are clear: athletic trainers save lives. Yet inadequate staffing means critical injuries go unaddressed or improperly handled, risking long-term disability or even death of one of our student athletes. Equally alarming is the state of our medical resources. The budget for medical supplies has been frozen at $60,000 since 2014, while medical supply costs have risen at an outrageous 85%. This has left critical equipment like therapeutic modalities and AEDs non-functioning. A recent audit by the athletic trainers revealed that all 25 middle schools with athletic programs lack the equipment necessary for responding to emergencies. Without action, we are gambling with the lives of our student athletes. Between July and October of this school year, 21 middle and high school student athletes nationwide have died during sports. 21 in just 5 months. These deaths have left communities devastated. I'm asking for 2 critical changes. First, funding to hire 3 additional athletic trainers to cover the high schools without athletic trainers, and approximately 6 more to serve the middle school athletic programs. Second, an immediate investment in the athletic trainer budget to repair, replace, and maintain essential medical supplies and life-saving equipment. This is really about more than sports. It's about protecting the lives of our children. And we shouldn't wait for a tragedy to occur in DCPS. The time to act is now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up will be Lihia Stearman.
Hola, ¿me escuchan?
Sí.
Buenas tardes, me llamo Ligia Stearman, soy de Guatemala y trabajo en Bancroft desde hace 10 años. Soy maestra y madre y familia de esta escuela. Desde que comencé a trabajar en esta escuela, la pasión por la educación, la diversidad y el bienestar de los estudiantes por parte de la administración, maestros, staff, padres y la comunidad ha sido algo muy poderoso que he observado y he vivido en mis años en esta escuela. Y con los años, Bancroft ha crecido. Y cómo no, es una escuela increíble, con maestros y staff increíble, capaces, diversos, amorosos, pero este crecimiento en estudiantes ha traído desafíos en el día a día. Y por eso estoy aquí, para pedirles, por favor, que consideren su presupuesto para la compra y renovación del edificio Henderson por las siguientes razones. Las clases están llenas de estudiantes más allá de su capacidad. En clases donde están diseñadas para tener 15 estudiantes, hay 24. En espacios diseñados para grupos pequeños, son clases completas de 15 a 20 estudiantes. ¿Se imaginan los retos que hay para satisfacer las necesidades socioemocionales y académicas de cada estudiante, en especial los afroamericanos, latinos, multilingües y de educación especial, de una manera efectiva en una clase donde a puras penas pueden moverse? La cafetería es otro gran desafío. Con el espacio y las restricciones a los horarios que tienen el personal para servir el almuerzo a los alumnos, contribuye un tiempo limitado y todos los alumnos tienen muy poco para comer. El otro día estaba cuidando la cafetería. El último grupo de estudiantes tenía que comerse su almuerzo en 7 minutos. No sabemos si estos estudiantes es su única comida al día. Este tiempo no es solamente para comer, es también para trabajar en sus habilidades sociales. Debería de ser un momento relajado y divertido, no estresante. La cafetería también sobrepasó su capacidad límite. Otro gran desafío son las clases de educación especial. Los números en estos espacios han crecido significativamente. Nuestra capacidad para brindar apoyo personalizado e individualizado se ve comprometido. Bancroft es la única escuela que ofrece una educación bilingüe a los estudiantes de educación especial. Ellos necesitan y merecen atención personalizada, lo cual es difícil mantener cuando las clases ya pasaron su límite de capacidad. Otra preocupación es el programa de preescolar, que ha sido durante mucho tiempo la esencia de Bancroft. Si perdemos este programa debido a la reasignación de recursos, corremos el riesgo de perder la identidad de Bancroft. Transfiriendo preescolar a un nuevo edificio, a Henderson, podrá servir al 80% de familias que español es su primer idioma y estudiantes más vulnerables, que muchos son de bajos recursos y tienen falta de oportunidades. Si nos deshacemos de este programa, va contra el plan estratégico que DCPS propone. Dice, con el incremento del enfoque en matemática, los estudiantes podrán recibir una fundación sólida en literatura, comenzando en preescolar, para que lleve a resultados acelerados en escuela intermedia y secundaria. ¿Cómo DCPS podrá lograr y seguir este plan en Bancroft si no hay preescolar? Si perdemos preescolar, mucha de la población latina y afroamericana va a disminuir, y sin este grupo de personas, nuestra escuela perderá su esencia. Les pido de nuevo, por favor, que consideren su presupuesto para la compra y renovación del edificio Henderson para aliviar esta sobrecapacidad de estudiantes y poder brindar a los estudiantes y familias la atención, educación y los servicios que se merecen. Gracias.
Gracias, Ligia. Elise? Elise will be coming on to provide translation.
My apologies that my mic was
Oh,
muted.
there we go.
Hello, my name is Elise Gingrich. I work with the Language Access Unit here at DCPS. I will be sharing the English translation of Ms. Stearman's testimony that was just shared in Spanish. Good afternoon, or good evening. My name is Ligia Stearman. I'm from Guatemala, and I have been working at Bancroft for 10 years. I'm a teacher and a mother of a student at this school. Since I started working at Bancroft, the passion for education, diversity, and the well-being of the students on the part of the administration, teachers, staff, parents, and the community has been something quite powerful that I've gotten to observe and experience in my years here. Over the years, Bancroft has grown, and of course, it's an amazing school with incredible, capable, diverse, loving teachers and staff. But this growth in students has brought challenges in the everyday life. And that's why I'm here, to ask you to consider your budget for the purchase and renovation of the Henderson building for the following reasons. Classes are filled with students beyond capacity. In classes where they are designed to have 15 students, there are 24. Spaces designed for small groups are now full of complete classes with 15 to 20 students. Can you imagine the challenges there are in meeting the socio-emotional and academic needs of each student, especially African American, Latino, multilingual, and special education students, and meeting those needs effectively in a classroom where they can hardly move? The cafeteria is another big challenge. The space and schedule restrictions that the cafeteria staff have to serve lunch contributes to the limited time all students have to eat. The other day, I was taking care of lunch, and I took the time of, I kept track of the time of how long students are in line to grab their lunch and sit down to eat. The last group of students had to eat their lunch in 7 minutes. We don't know if these students are having their only meal of the day there at school. This time is also not just for eating, it's for working on your social skills. It should be a relaxed and fun time, not a stressful one. The cafeteria also exceeds its capacity limit. Another big challenge is our special education classes that are affected by overcrowding. The number in these spaces have grown significantly, and our ability to provide personalized support and individualized attention is compromised. Bancroft is the only school to offer a bilingual education to special education students. They need and deserve personalized attention and consistent routines, which is difficult to maintain when classes are stretched to capacity. Another big concern is our preschool program, which has long been the essence of Bancroft. If we lose this program due to space constraints or resource reallocation, we risk losing Bancroft's identity. By transferring preschool to a new building, it will be able to serve 80% of families who have Spanish as their first language, and as well as the most vulnerable students, many of whom come from low-income backgrounds and lack opportunities. If we get rid of preschool, that goes against DCPS's strategic plan that proposes, quote, with the increased focus on math, students will be able to receive a solid foundation in literature starting in preschool to lead to accelerated results in middle and high school. How will DCPS be able to follow this plan in Bancroft if there is no preschool? If we lose preschool, a lot of the Latino and African American population will also decrease, and without this group of people, our school will change its essence. So I ask you again to please consider your budget for the purchase and renovation of the Henderson building to alleviate the student overcapacity and provide students and families with the care, education, and services they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Elise, and thank you again, Lahia. I understand that Kathy Riley has joined us, so Kathy, we will go to you next.
But okay. Can you hear me?
We can, thank you.
Fantastic. I'm Kathy Riley, Executive Director of SHAPE and Facilitator for Ward 4 at Alliance and C for DC. Thank you for this opportunity to testify. I look forward to a resolution of the impasse on the Schools First legislation. DCPS is bound by the law. The stability funds calculation from the previous year has to be based on the purchasing power a school has to be able to fund at a higher salary the teachers to serve their population, and it has to be stable. And DCPS has to make the case for the vital central office functions, including security, food service, human resources, IT, necessary academic health and mental health and support. We support the requests of the Digital Equity Group. We support all schools having a full complement of basic academic programs in addition to art, music at all levels, and world language at the middle school level. We support ensuring program curriculars that are equitable across schools. This includes transparency in how athletic funds are allocated, and this was stressed in the Boundary and Student Assignment Recommendation number 17, requiring parity and rigorous programming across each DCPS high school feeder pattern. We support restoring Remind to all schools, especially heading into a different national administration, ensuring that all families have access to quick communication. CTE, as the Chancellor mentioned, has been underfunded, and the federal funds are not sufficient for the needs within our schools, so local dollars have to supplement them. Schools are bracing for a tough year and for having less. Schools with students with additional needs, including those that came here from other countries, are especially anxious. The DCPS budget will need to be strategic and efficient and honor its equity imperative. Safe passage will be far more critical. Schools will need to understand what they are not legally required to do so that they can protect their students. Students' data at DCPS and at OSSI will need to have additional safeguards. Our schools have to be sanctuaries. We will lobby at the city level for this too. In capital planning, we support convening the SIT teams sooner than 18 months. We support the Euclid Street planning and modernization, and we are thrilled with the reprogramming to have Magogny come back into the DCPS inventory to support swing space, and we hope this is the beginning of more acquisitions of buildings that we really need, both for crowding, for swing space, and for all the students, since DCPS is the system of right. Thank you for this opportunity to testify, and sorry for all the technology glitches at the beginning.
Thank you, Kathy. Next, I will read the next group and then the first person who will go in that group. So the next 5 people will be Jasmine Herndon, Camilo Mantilla, Dahlia Sokolov, Jamie Barden, Meyer Galblum High. First from that group, Jasmine Herndon.
Hi, I'm Jasmine Herndon. This is my daughter. Hi, I'm Lily.
We're here today because we'd like to ask you to add $35 million to the DCPS budget for Bancroft. This might seem like a large ask. Oh my goodness, I lost my camera. Can you guys still hear me?
We can definitely hear you.
Okay. There we go. We're here today we'd like to ask you for $35 million to add to the DCPS budget for Bancroft. This might seem like a big ask, but it's a necessary one.
We both testified last year twice. The first one was to keep our community together. We then asked for $9 million to buy the Henderson buildings as an annex to Bancroft for the pre-K classes. Thank you so much for your continued support. Our science and gardening classrooms are long gone because they are now learning classrooms. Our library has shrunk on both sides to make new classrooms for students. I know that because I was in one of those rooms last year. Our lunchroom is small. Lunch times run nearly all day with 2 really long lines and not enough time to eat if you're at the end. Last year, I was in the last group of students to go to lunch, and so we had to break for snack during learning time in the middle of the morning. It means we're really hungry during class times, all because we don't have enough space to have more kids in the cafeteria.
DME came toured the building with DCPS facility staff and concluded it's not possible to create any more classrooms in Bancroft. The enrollment there is now 828, which is 117% of the 709 students in the building capacity is supposed to hold according to last year's master facilities plan. And enrollment has increased by about 40 students every year for the past 6 years. In a letter to Bancroft community from Chancellor Farabee, he admitted enrollment has increased 45% since 2016 and indicated we need a long-term solution for overcapacity challenges. He also noted the Henderson buildings, which is within the Bancroft boundary, makes it appealing, and that DCPS remains committed to working with DGS, the DC City Council, and the Bancroft school community to assess Henderson's viability and other long-term options. We can't build on the current campus because Bancroft's already in the red zone for not having enough outdoor space per student. We can't put trailers on the soccer field because the school is already in the red zone for not having enough outdoor space for students. The DME stated to parents and kids that the DC government has no alternative long plan for Bancroft overcapacity other than the Henderson building.
What can we do?
We want to urge the mayor to actively bid on the Henderson buildings through community outreach and writing letters.
What can we do?
We can encourage you, the DCPS, to allot $35 million for the renovation of the Henderson buildings.
What can we do?
We can ask you to request the mayor to direct the Department of General Services to initiate purchase of the Henderson buildings, which could start as early as tomorrow.
The Henderson's buildings as an annex for the pre-K is still the best solution for our community and for our school. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, Lily and my mom, Jasmine. Bye.
Thank you, Lily and Jasmine.
You're welcome.
Next up will be Camilo Mantilla.
Buenos días, ¿me escuchan? Can you hear me?
Sí.
Buenos días, mi nombre es Camilo Mantilla, soy papá de Samuel y Benjamín y estoy acá porque queremos hablar sobre Bancroft. Quiero apoyar las peticiones que los otros padres de familia han hecho y queremos reforzar que es una necesidad que la alcaldía tome acción para comprar el anexo necesario, sin sacrificar áreas actualmente comprometidas como son las de la recreación. Aunque mi hijo Benjamín no es estudiante de Bancroft, quiero que lo sea y quiero que pueda acceder a pre-K y al pre-kinder sin compromiso de que no tenga esa oportunidad y pueda acompañar a sus compañeros y a sus colegas de la comunidad. En Bancroft, al hacer esto, esperamos que se continúe celebrando la diversidad, el bilingüismo y el multiculturalismo, las cuales son todas razones por las que escogimos este barrio y esta comunidad. Y queremos que la escuela y la comunidad siga siendo incluyente, les permita a mis hijos mayor comprensión cultural, habilidades esenciales, sin sacrificio de lo que la escuela les ofrece actualmente y adquiriendo nuevos espacios como lo es el edificio Henderson que han manifestado los otros padres. Para mi familia, la escuela Bancroft ha sido un lugar donde pueden crecer académica y personalmente, pero por esta escasez de espacio, limitación de espacio, esta capacidad de aprender y desarrollo se ha visto sacrificada. Muy claro es el ejemplo que han compartido los otros padres de familia en el poco tiempo que tienen ellos para cosas tan esenciales como es el almuerzo. Adicionalmente, pues nos gustaría que nuestros hijos puedan tener espacios para descansar, recreación y no solamente verse afanados por un horario, solamente por una limitación en espacio. Como lo han dicho los otros padres, la alcaldía está en capacidad de tomar esta decisión, está en capacidad de adquirir este nuevo espacio sin sacrificar los espacios verdes y de recreación, sin sacrificar las áreas actualmente existentes y lo puede hacer con el edificio anexo de Henderson. Finalmente, Bancroft ofrece una capacidad de académica excelente, multicultural, y queremos que se mantenga así. De no ser así y optar por otras soluciones propuestas, vamos a perder todo esto y se perdería la capacidad y las razones por las cuales nosotros escogimos vivir en el vecindario. Por esto, queremos agradecer a la alcaldía y a todos sus funcionarios que escuchen nuestras peticiones y que tomen las acciones que les estamos pidiendo para que se mantenga la cohesión, la diversidad y el multiculturalismo de la comunidad, así como la capacidad y los servicios que ofrece la escuela, y son las razones por las cuales las hemos escogido. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. Just want to make sure that okay, so because we don't have your written testimony, we want to make sure that this gets translated. So Elise, I'll have you come off mic.
Buenas tardes otra vez. Tenemos como un poquito de un error, solo porque la intérprete estuvo en otra parte de la reunión en Zoom. Entonces, Camilo, lamento que voy a tener que pedirlo repetir, pero lo bueno es que podrá decir su testimonio 2 veces para enfatizarlo. Entonces, Camilo, si nos puede brindar básicamente, si puede empezar de nuevo y así le voy a pedir que haga pausas cada oración, cada 2 oraciones para que pueda interpretar, porque nosotros valoramos mucho sus palabras y queremos que todos los demás que no hablan español puedan entender. ¿Está bien?
Vale, está bien.
Okay, entonces puede empezar de nuevo. Speaking as the interpreter, we're gonna unfortunately have to start over with with Camilo's testimony, and so I will be interpreting consecutively. So he'll start from scratch, and you guys will get to hear it twice.
Bueno, ¿puedo comenzar?
Sí, gracias.
Mi nombre es Camilo Mantilla, soy padre de Samuel y Benjamín. Actualmente mi hijo Samuel es estudiante de primer grado de la escuela Bancroft.
My name is Camilo Mantilla. I am the father of Samuel and Benjamin. Currently, Samuel is in first grade at Bancroft.
Mi hijo Benjamín, aunque tiene 1 año, no es estudiante claramente, pero queremos que cuando tenga la edad, tenga esa opción de entrar a Bancroft en los grados de kinder y pre-K.
My son Benjamin is only a year old, so clearly he's not a student yet. But we are hoping that once he is of the appropriate age, he will be able to join the Bancroft community as a kindergartner.
Y por esto estoy hoy apoyando las peticiones de los otros padres de familia, de los otros miembros de la comunidad, para que la alcaldía tome las acciones pertinentes en adquirir los espacios necesarios que permitan a que el colegio pueda mantener la oferta del pre-K sin sacrificar los espacios de recreación, los horarios de esparcimiento y de almuerzo de nuestros hijos y estudiantes, que son muy importantes para todo el multiculturalismo y desarrollo bilingüe de la comunidad en Bancroft.
Because of that, I'm here as a father and adding my voice to the many other parents of our Bancroft community who have asked for the mayor and DCPS representatives to acquire the necessary buildings and spaces to be able to have enough space for our entire school, including the pre-K, without sacrificing the recreational areas, as well as, space for lunch and cafeteria, all of those other important things that help to maintain our school community's multicultural, multilingual development.
Como lo han mencionado los otros padres de familia, el hacinamiento ha impactado parte de esta experiencia de aprendizaje y crecimiento de mis hijos, porque en los momentos en que ellos deberían estar en su horario de almuerzo, descansando, se ven acelerados o esforzados a desaprovechar esos espacios que están destinados para actividades diarias y solo se deben limitar a, como lo decimos coloquialmente, a correr con una tarea más y no poder desempeñarse como quisiéramos en un espacio educativo y de aprendizaje.
So the overcapacity or the overcrowding at our school is truly affecting both the learning and the social and emotional development of our children, in that during times where they should be able to take advantage of the space to eat lunch and be relaxed, they're oftentimes being forced into other spaces, or those spaces are being used in other ways. So oftentimes when they should be able to relax, they are being, made to just kind of like continue with the grind and rush through things, which definitely has an effect on their education overall.
En estos casos, mi hijo ha tenido menos tiempo para comer, socializar, recargar energías y pues cuando debería ser espacios para otra cosa. En este sentido, queremos que en cuanto a las propuestas, se busque la adicional del edificio Henderson sin sacrificar el espacio del campo de fútbol, porque como lo han dicho los otros padres de la comunidad, el colegio ya no tiene suficiente espacio para esta actividad. Entonces, queremos que al perder este campo significaría limitar oportunidades para el juego al aire libre, que son cruciales para el desarrollo de los hijos y que sean un punto de conexión más para nuestra comunidad. Porque en este espacio verde que actualmente tiene la escuela, no solo nuestros hijos adelantan sus actividades deportivas o de descanso, sino que son son espacios donde la comunidad lleva actividades especiales, como son hace poco la celebración de los 100 años, los equipos de nuestros hijos van y practican los fines de semana allá, y son espacios de la comunidad. Entonces, poner trailers en ese espacio sería no solo un detrimento a la escuela, sino sería un detrimento a toda la comunidad.
Oftentimes, my son does not have enough time to eat, to socialize, to recharge his energy, and so because of that and other reasons that I've mentioned, I would like for you all to consider adding in the budget the ability to acquire the Henderson building. The alternative that was proposed to us about putting trailers in the soccer field, many other parents have lent their voices of protest against that, in that that green space allows our children important activities. Losing that space would also limit their ability to play in fresh air, which we know is important for child development. It's also an important space for connection. We know that green space, green space serves not just for our children, and that it allows them a space for sports and for rest and recharging. It's also a community space. It's used for many community events, such as the recent 100-year celebration. It's also a space where our children's teams go and practice on the weekends. So we know that if it were filled with trailers, that it would be a detriment not for just the students at our school, but also the wider community.
Por esto, queremos que la alcaldía nos ayude a solucionar esta situación No queremos que esta situación persista, queremos que Bancroft siga siendo una escuela ejemplar y ofrezca las cosas por las cuales decidimos venir a este lugar y escoger Bancroft y Mount Pleasant como la comunidad donde queremos residir, y así como lo han hecho muchas otras familias. Queremos que esta escuela siga siendo un referente de impacto positivo y de DCPS como sistema de apoyo al sistema educativo de la ciudad, y queremos actuar ahora apoyando a Bancroft y a la alcaldía para que podamos buscar esta solución que la comunidad necesita. Gracias.
Because of that, we want to lend our voices, asking the mayor and other representatives to resolve this situation. We don't want these difficulties to persist. Rather, we would like for Bancroft to continue to be an example and an exemplary school community like the one that we know that it is. We want Bancroft to be able to continue offering the valuable opportunities that are the same opportunities that brought many people here to the Bancroft and the Mount Pleasant area. Many people have come here, moved here specifically seeking out those opportunities. So we want them to continue to be an example and a reference of the positive impact that a school has on a community. So we ask that the DCPS representatives can work together with the mayor's office to update our buildings and find a solution that has been approved by Bancroft families. Thank you.
Gracias, Camilo, and thank you, Elise, for jumping in there. Next up is Dalia Sokolov.
You hear me?
We can, thank you.
Great. Thank you, and good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to testify this evening. My name is Dalia Sokolov, and I'm a parent of a Bancroft first grader, like Camilo, and they're in the same class, in fact. In 2018, with a new baby, my husband and I were fortunate to find our forever home in Mount Pleasant. We knew Bancroft had come so far in the decade prior, thanks to DCPS's investment in the renovation, to excellent principals and staff, and to the commitment of the local community. We were particularly happy to send our son to a bilingual school, and one that reflects the diversity of Mount Pleasant. Our own son does well academically and has no special needs that we are aware of. But even for a child blessed with many advantages, the overcrowding at Bancroft has consequences. The shortened lunch period that you heard about means that most days he eats little to no lunch. At 6 years old, skipping lunch means that by the end of the school day, my son has lost the ability to manage his emotions. It's hard on him, hard on his teachers. It affects his learning and even his relationships with his peers. This is just one of countless personal anecdotes, and likely far from the worst if you were to talk to more parents at Bancroft. We are grateful that the City Council has demonstrated its strong support for the purchase of the Henderson building for a pre-K annex for Bancroft. Now we are asking DCPS to request that the mayor direct DGS to initiate purchase of the Henderson building without further delay. We are also asking for $35 million for Henderson renovation costs to be included in next year's budget. A failure by the city now to invest in Bancroft's future will be catastrophic for the school and the neighborhood. I don't want to repeat everything that Ligia and Jasmine and Camilo already said. They said it so eloquently about all the impacts across the school, both indoors and outdoors, and I just want to add my voice to all those specific impacts and the ways that they affect learning and affect the community. And I will add this: many who believe that they were buying forever homes will return to the days of moving out to the suburbs. That's how Mount Pleasant used to be. My own brother, who raised his kids here, chose not to send them to Bancroft 15 years ago. Good, and he was far from the only one. Good teachers will be hard to recruit. The kids who will lose the most are those who are already at risk in so many other ways. Yes, we want this for our own son, but we also want it for our beloved neighborhood and the city we have both called home for nearly a quarter century. Investing in the future of the city's largest elementary school and the full diversity of students it serves clearly meets Chancellor Farabee's commitments to equity as described in the current 5-year strategic plan. We are asking DCPS to make a long-term commitment to a school and to a community that has demonstrated we can walk the walk of equity. Now is the time to double down on a success story, not abandon it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Jamie Barden.
There we go. Hi. My name is Jamie Barden. I'm a Bancroft Elementary School parent and the co-chair of the Bancroft Annex Working Group. Principal Morales shared a statement which it is my honor to share with you. She said, "The success of DCPS's strategic plan, Bancroft Elementary's mission, and collaboration with the Columbia Heights Education Campus relies on our unwavering commitment to equity. Guided by our capital commitment 2023-2028, we will leverage the opportunities provided by the purchase of the Henderson Building to deliver targeted support and eliminate barriers to academic and social success for our Black and Hispanic Latino students, multilingual learners, and those receiving special education services. As a united community, we will foster a diverse, vibrant environment where every child, regardless of background, is empowered to achieve bilingual, biliterate, and high academic success." As you have heard from the other testimonies, Bancroft is 120 students over capacity. To sum that up, that basically means we've run out of spaces to jury rig into classrooms. So I want to thank Chancellor Farabee for providing a temporary solution to relocate some classrooms to Sharp Health School for 2 years. But we all know that Sharp is needed for other schools, and that time will come soon enough. Chancellor Farabee has identified the Henderson buildings as a long-term option that is appealing because it is within Bancroft boundaries. The Henderson buildings is the only location that anybody's been able to find that is a school property currently for sale and located between Bancroft and Czech, which it will serve. The Chancellor's 5-year plan places equity as the first priority, as it should. And I think Principal Morales' statement really addresses how this solving this problem is key to maintaining that commitment. Just to put too fine a point on it, if Bancroft pre-K grades move to the Henderson building, this will serve around 80 Spanish-dominant students and their families, many of whom are low-income and immigrant families. That's because pre-K at Bancroft is 80% Spanish-dominant. Without the Henderson buildings, when we lose Sharp, the pre-K classrooms will be eliminated, harming our most vulnerable students and families and undermining the bilingual program. For Czech High School, which will co-locate with Bancroft, the Henderson buildings will include daycare facilities for children of teenage mothers who are trying to complete their high school diplomas. The building will also house training program for Czech students to become bilingual educators themselves. In other words, DC residents who can go on to teach bilingual classrooms. The City Council voted unanimously this last summer to set aside $9 million for the purchase of the Henderson buildings. We are asking the school's chancellor and DCPS to urge the mayor and deputy mayor to move forward with the purchase of the Henderson buildings in short order. This process could start tomorrow. This is urgent since there is a competing buyer. Since DCPS visited almost a year ago last February, we have known that the Henderson buildings requires extensive renovation. Let's be honest, that's why it's so relatively affordable at 51,000 square feet and why it's still on the market. As a result, it's necessary to ask DCPS to request the mayor to include $35 million for renovation of this space to bring it up to code for DCPS so it can serve all students, those with various specific needs and the school body in general.
Thank you. Oh,
no, that's good.
Great. Thank you very much. Next up is Meyer Galblum High. Mayor Meyer, I see you here. Okay, let's go to the next group, and then we will try to work with you to get back. Let me read the next group of speakers. Dr. Kawana Jeffer Williams, Grace Hu, Divinia Say, you'll have to correct me on that. First, Dr. Kawana Jeffer Williams.
Okay. Okay. Hi. Hello, everyone. Right. First, I want to say thank you for allowing me to speak today to share my overall thoughts. I am a mother of a sixth grader at Capitol Hill. A seventh grader at Capitol Hill Montessori. And although we adore our school, we are advocating today on behalf of the general public and the general school systems. As a policy advisor, I will have to share my thoughts in addition to on the budget overall with solutions. In addition to my specific goal is to address the Title I schools in the area. First, I have identified the budget gaps, and many schools are facing potential cuts in teaching staff, which can negatively impact student learning and support services. I urge our DCPS leadership to focus on technology and how inefficient the funding may be for grades and the maintenance for that to hinder the students' access to essential digital tools, as well as refocusing the efforts on food, nutrition, and budget constraints, and how quality in the food, nutrition, and the meals for the students may be priority. There is a security for the children. Security measures should be also considered and not be compromised, as well as the safety of all schools. For example, my next testimony will be addressing the Anacostia High School initiative that I will propose. But for now, the proposed solutions are simply this. We're allocating the additional funds to retain and rehire quality teachers. I know as a mother of a seventh grader, and for one who's been here for over 13 years and Washington, D.C. Area, and have contributed to community services and public services measures, that we must maintain a financial budget that will give us quality teacher and low student ratios. We recruited a few years back for quality teachers worldwide, even national-wide, and I believe we should push for that again, to bring those who have the doctoral degrees in the forefront of the children and the students who need it the most, and work our way with master level teachers in the lower grades to ensure that they're meeting the efforts and that the digital technology and sciences are being pushed to the forefront with mathematics. I am urging to increase the funding for food and nutrition for healthier options in meals for all students. Because a hungry stomach is an empty mind. To nourish the mind with education and academics achievements, but to nourish the body is to help the child reach their achievements. My second goal is to ensure that we are allocating safety and security in cyber walls, cybersecurity in our technology, ensuring that we are focusing on new technology in our computer labs. I've noticed there are a lot of Dell computers, and we may have the opportunity to allocate funds for more advanced laptops and or computer services like Apple, for example, because a lot of the children are very tech savvy.
Just
In
want to
conclusion, we are
note that. Oh, thank you. Go ahead. If you're wrapping
in
up, I hear you.
conclusion,
Thank
we
you.
are just addressing the budget to ensure that all students in the district have high quality education, and the personnel and technology is up to par, and they're nutritionally sound, and they feel safe within their school systems.
So much.
I do have a second testimony for my group. The second testimony will.
I'm sorry. Is there? Sorry, I'm just trying to get some clarity here. Is there another person for whom you're speaking?
No, it's just another testimony.
Okay. Can we have you submit that so then we can make sure that we're going through all the folks? We want to make sure that we're giving 3 minutes for each speaker tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. And I just want to make a note that in this group, I neglected to add Jean Blackerby-Stritch. And so we'll go Grace Hu, Davinia, and then we'll go to Jean. Thank you very much. Grace?
Hi, Chancellor Farabee and Deputy Chancellor Ashley and other other DCPS staff. My name is Grace Hu, and I'm one of the parent co-leads for Digital Equity in DC Education, a citywide coalition of parents working to close the digital divide and to provide a 21st century education for our children. And I'm also on the DCPS Tech Advisory Committee. Since 2018, our parent group has continuously engaged with DCPS on technology issues. For this school year and for the 26 budget, we asked that DCPS address the following issues. Number one, advanced placement tests this school year will be online, with the College Board discontinuing paper testing. However, we are still hearing that not all high schools are at a 1-to-1 student device ratio, and that lack of technology poses a barrier to preparing students for AP tests. We ask that DCPS reach out to every high school to assess whether they have sufficient devices, including enough devices in the upper grades, to prepare for and administer the AP tests. On computer distribution, some schools provide computers through carts in certain classrooms instead of issuing each student a device. The cart distribution model poses challenges for secondary schools, as the number of devices in each classroom is not always sufficient given the larger variation in student schedules and class sizes at high schools. We urge central office to consider how a school's distribution model may impact the need for a larger contingency of devices at the school. On regular refresh of technology, including student and teacher devices, the lack of stability and funding for technology impacts schools' abilities to support day-to-day learning and runs counter to the mayor's commitment to provide a 1-to-1 student device ratio for all students in grades 3 to 12. Parents should not have to advocate year after year for funding to maintain functional, appropriate technology, which is now a must-have for a 21st century education and needed for online assessments and curricula that DCPS Central requires of schools. The refresh of tech should be automatically baked into the DCPS operating budget every year. And lastly, despite DCPS paying OCTO, the Office of the Chief Technology Officer, millions of dollars per year to provide IT support and Wi-Fi to DCPS schools, we continue to hear challenges with schools' management of technology and internet connectivity. OCTO technicians are currently not allowed to access the tip web inventories, which schools have to keep updated and which central office uses to allocate devices. We urge DCPS to assess whether it is getting the full value of what it is paying to Octo, and to also consider having Octo technicians provide asset management support to schools, including helping schools with updating their tip web technology inventories. Thank you for the opportunity to testify, and we look forward to continuing to engage you and your staff on DCPS technology.
Thank you. Next, we will have
Solo un aviso, just to interrupt, Lauren,
yes,
one
please. Thank
announcement
you.
that we wanted to butt in. Solo un aviso, si usted va a compartir su testimonio en español, favor de, por favor, notificar a su punto de contacto ahora mismo para que podamos planear la interpretación ahora y no hacerlo al último momento. Entonces, si usted va a compartir en español, por favor, puede ponerse en contacto con la persona que le ha estado escribiendo para avisarles que usted quiere hablar en español cuando está dando su testimonio. Speaking as the interpreter, I'm just giving a notice to those that are Spanish speakers. If they do wish to give their testimony in Spanish, please contact your POC so that we can make sure our interpreter is ready ahead of time.
Thanks for that, Elise. Davinia? One more call for Davinia. Okay, let's move on to, oh, I see, Davinia, you just popped up. While we're working on getting you going, is Jean available?
Yes, I'm here.
Great.
Hi, my name is Jean Stritch, and my children attend Brent Elementary in Ward 6. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Our school community will be displaced 3.7 miles from Brent to Meyer Elementary during the 2025-26 and 2026-27 school years, the furthest distance any DC public school has had to travel for a swing space during modernization. We would like to request specific measures related to DCPS's process for school modernizations and swing spaces across the city. These are common sense measures to keep school communities intact during modernization. First, to amend the Students First Act to guarantee that enrollment projections be held harmless for DCPS schools undergoing modernization and relocation to a swing space across the modernization years and the year immediately following. The enrollment projection of the school year prior to the commencement of construction should be maintained and held harmless from adjustments during the modernization years and the year following, serving as the floor of the projection for years of construction in the school year after. Failure to legislate this will continue to drive enrollment instability in schools, leading to faculty departures and overcrowding of modernized spaces upon return, and long-lasting damage to school communities. Second, legislate swing space standards and provide oversight of swing space facility readiness for all school modernizations across the city. Assigned swing spaces should be safe and usable, ready to house school communities. All open work orders should be adequately completed and closed prior to a new school's occupation of the space. To ask a community to relocate a significant distance, in this case 3.7 miles, to an unsafe or unfinished swing space is unacceptable. There should be published consistent standards for swing spaces that house schools undergoing modernization in DCPS. Third, there should be structured oversight of DCPS swing space planning. DCPS should be held to basic standards regarding swing space planning and project management, including timelines for community engagement on swing spaces well before the assignment of a swing space, and a transparent process for ensuring an assigned swing space is prepared. This includes specified timelines and processes for the incoming school to see the space and identify projects that need to be completed. Moreover, DCPS should approach swing space planning in a more rational manner, sequencing modernizations among wards such that schools swing to a space in their ward and not so far away. Many of the swing space issues throughout the district could have been avoided with these practical measures in place. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to go back to, it looks like we were able to hopefully to adjust or address some tech issues. So let's do Davinia, are you ready? And then we will, after Davinia, go back to Meyer. Is Davinia ready? Okay, great. Are we able to unmute Davinia? I see that they have their hand raised. Thank you all for your patience while we try to work this out. Let's continue working with Davinia so that we can get them their mic working. Let's try to go back to Meyer, and then if not, we'll go to the next group. So is Meyer, I know that you were working on some tech.
Hi, yes, I'm here.
Wonderful.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, yes, thank you.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you so much to Shona for helping me get on. Hello, my name is Meyer Galblum-Haig. I am a trans-masc, non-binary disabled parent at Bancroft. My pronouns are they and them. And I'm a parent to an incredible 5-year-old kindergartner named Tova at Bancroft Elementary School in Mount Pleasant. And I'm here to talk to you today about accessible play space in DC, something that some of y'all might not realize is at stake at Bancroft Elementary School, and specifically to ask you not to take away one of the very few wheelchair accessible play spaces that we have within wheeling distance of my home in Mount Pleasant at Bancroft Elementary School. I lived here in DC for over 13 years, and though I was born in Alaska, I've got 5 generations of family roots here in the city. I've been invisibly disabled for my whole life, but about a month after the birth of my daughter, I was involved in a hit-and-run car accident in Shaw, and I got a fairly severe traumatic brain injury. And then during the COVID pandemic, I got meningitis. And as a result, I now live life on wheels. I love this city. I love DC. I also became physically disabled here in this city. And my daughter and I deserve to continue to live a full and dignified life in this city. I'm proud to be a part of the disability community, but living a dignified life as a disabled parent here in our city can be very difficult. I spend a lot of time exploring the city with my daughter. She loves to point out which buildings we could explore when she sees a new ramp, which can give you an idea of how many of our buildings don't have them. And she loves to point out which playgrounds look accessible. Bancroft Elementary School provides one of the only accessible play spaces within miles of our home that I can safely go to with my child. DC Parks and Rec, unfortunately, has finished nearly every playground within miles of our home with mulch, which, if you don't know, is not accessible on wheels. And that means if there's an emergency, I can't reach her. When she was 3, we were at a playground in Columbia Heights when older kids set off fireworks, and a lot of people thought that they were gunshots all around us. Everyone around us hit the ground, and parents were scrambling for their kids, except me, because I could not reach my child until long after the crisis had passed, and I realized it was fine. A year later, a physical fight broke out at the playground with an adult punching someone, and I couldn't reach my child in the midst of that crisis because 30 feet of mulch separated us. Weeks later, a child was In another fight, multiple children, another physical fight, and once again, I couldn't reach her. And as a result, Bancroft has become a go-to playground for us. It's safe, it's wheelchair accessible. If something goes wrong, I can always reach her. And it's open to the public 7 days a week. At Bancroft, I can parent with dignity. We could sit here and debate whether the DC government should make every playground in this city accessible, but that isn't an overnight solution. And I'm going to be very honest with you, it would cost this city far more than the Henderson building or the renovation of the Henderson building. That is more than a $35 million solution. The question in front of you right now is whether to put trailers over one of the only accessible play spaces that we have in our region of the city. And the only solution to stopping that right now on the table is to buy the Henderson buildings in Mount Pleasant. And it has a bonus of saving both Czech and Bancroft from massive overcrowding in the process. My child.
We're getting close. I just want to.
Thank you so much. I'm almost done. My child's already in an overcrowded classroom at Bancroft, a converted teacher's lounge that is half the size of other classrooms with 25-year-olds. There's no space for a carpet, no space for play, no space for circle time, just 25-year-olds sitting at desks, and they can't do anything else but sit at their desks. She struggles to sit still for so long all day. In just one place without a lot of exercise, which means it's on me to find her playtime after school so that she can do that during the day. That means me having accessible play space is even more important in the midst of Bancroft's overcrowding. Disabled people are critical members of our community, but too often we're locked out of housing, of businesses, of transit, of more. And seeing disabled parents living a dignified life in our city and parenting like every other parent at the playground isn't just good for my kid, it's good for every single other kid in this city and every other kid at Bancroft. While securing the sharp swing space is a good first step, it only secures our next 2 years. We need Henderson to truly guarantee this critical accessible play space and to ensure our kids have the space they so desperately need to learn. So I'm asking you to take one step towards a more inclusive, dignified, and welcoming DC by fighting for accessible play space and the dignity of disabled parents and kids. This is the district I believe that we are, and so I'm asking you to help me build it together, one neighborhood at a time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll be calling the next group. So this will be Dylan Craig, Dr. Jamal Sewell, Laura Fuchs. Maureen Perrone will be speaking on behalf of Jacqueline Seward Clements, and then Nora Stein will be speaking on behalf of Robin Nelson. And so first we will hear from Dylan Craig. Dylan, are you able to put your camera on, and then we are able to get you unmuted? Yep, looked like you came off for just a second. Someone able to work with Dylan on. Okay, while we're working on your technology, let's move on to Dr. Jamal Sewell.
Good evening. Can you all hear me?
We can, thank you.
Okay. Good evening, Dr. Farabee, other DCPS officials, colleagues, families, and students. My name is Dr. Jamel Sewell. I teach cosmetology at Garnett Patterson Stay Opportunity Academy. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak today about the critical need for robust funding for career and technical education, CTE programs. The value of CTE. CTE programs are transformative. They provide students with the skills, confidence, and certifications necessary to enter the workforce directly after high school or pursue higher education with a strong foundation. At Garnett Patterson, I've witnessed students who were once disengaged from traditional academics find purpose and direction through hands-on learning in our cosmetology program. These programs don't just teach skills, they instill discipline, creativity, and a sense of accomplishment. For many of our students, especially those from undeserved communities, CTE is the bridge to economic mobility and independence. The impact. In our cosmetology program alone, students leave with licensure opportunities that allow them to enter a $60 billion industry. Imagine the ripple effect. Graduates starting their own businesses, contributing to the local economy, and inspiring their peers. This isn't unique to cosmetology. This is across all CTE disciplines, where students gain tangible tools to build their futures. The challenge. However, our CTE programs are underfunded. Limited resources mean outdated equipment, insufficient materials, and fewer opportunities for students to access industry standard experiences. In cosmetology alone, for instance, my students deserve modern tools and mirror real world environments, yet we're often forced to make do with less. I have 30 students and 8 textbooks, for example. The ask, investing in CTE is investing in our students' futures, our community's growth, and our city's workforce. By allocating more robust funding, we can expand access, improve equipment, and offer additional certifications that give our students a competitive edge. In conclusion, our students are counting on us to see their potential and provide resources they need to thrive. I urge you to prioritize funding for CTE programs because the returns economically, socially, and educationally are immeasurable. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for yours. Elise, do you mind popping on to make a quick note, please?
Of course. Hey everyone, interpreter here again. Just another announcement, un aviso. Bernard, yo veo que usted tiene la mano alzado. Si es que usted necesita interpretación en español o en otro idioma, entonces puede hablar usted ahora para pedir interpretación. Lastimosamente no podemos aceptar otras preguntas ni nada de eso, pero si necesita intérprete, por favor, ahora nos puede decir. Bernard, I see that you have your hand raised. If you need an interpreter for when you're testifying, you can let us know. Otherwise, unfortunately, we cannot accept other questions right now, but your mic should be enabled so you can request if you need an interpreter. Okay, looks like that is gone. Let's continue.
Thank you for that, Elise. Okay, next up is Laura Fuchs.
Hello. I'm going to be reading off my phone, so I don't think my camera will work. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Great. So I'm in my 18th year teaching at H.C. Whitson High School, and I'm testifying solely as myself. As many have said before, it's almost impossible to plan for long-term sustained investments in our schools because plans come and go. I have several elements we need to take into consideration to combat this. One of the challenges we face is the DCPS central office turns out unnecessary paperwork, over testing, and other needless and unhelpful initiatives that cost a lot of money. We're facing a crisis in our classrooms for our time. Students are being asked to take countless benchmarks, required curricular tasks that don't align to the curriculum, outside contractor assessments, and then the high-stakes standardized assessments, leaving little to no time for educators to actually teach. We're also forced to grade a lot of these assessments, entering the grades into multiple databases for a wide number of students and little to no accounting, again, for our time. Add on to this the countless meetings that ostensibly are to go over the data, but rarely do since we have no time, and all the other databases and new programs and new initiatives you're expected to fulfill We are left with a very piecemeal and sorry excuse for curriculum that is constantly being interrupted by outside programs and does not allow the experts that were hired and survived countless impact evaluations to do our actual jobs. This goes double for special educators and ELL teachers and anyone else who provides a necessary support service to our students on top of their regular educating duties. The solution is to cut back on central office spending on outside contracts, conduct a full audit of all of the program's databases and external contractors that includes extensive talking to the teachers and students as to whether these programs are useful, then trim the fat at central office spending and reinvest that money in direct supports for students. There are too many redundancies that are not achieving the goals. We don't need 5 trackers to tell us what a teacher could have told you based on their own assessments. It is time to consolidate and focus on what works and eliminate the rest. Yes, that may mean saying goodbye to some of your Teach for America alumni friends and stopping giving them overbloated contracts, but I'm pretty sure they'll be okay. The next challenge is for W-2 contracts to not expire and DCPS should show up and negotiate in good faith. Once again, we are keeping to see an endless pattern of under mayoral control contracts expiring. This last one expired a year before we could actually get it decided, and we want to say that's a good thing. It is not. This does not allow us to properly fund our school system. It makes it hard to account for all the money that goes to cover those costs. And usually what DCPS ends up doing is trying to charge the schools and double count what is being actually paid for by the DC Council. So please, DCPS, in the future, show up to the table before the W-2 contract expires and then negotiate in good faith to the benefit of our students, educators, and school communities. We then need to make sure we're addressing the challenge that our school populations are unstable, especially in schools east of the river. Because we use student-based budgeting now, we have to really focus on making sure our students are going where they're supposed to. I've included that in my written testimony. And that we need to really try to limit the number of new programs that we're constantly starting and ending, because those have real costs and they don't have real results. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, I think, Dylan, we have our technology sorted. So Dylan Craig, are you available?
Yes, sorry about
Wonderful.
the tech
We can
issues.
hear you.
Perfect. Switch to my phone, so we should be good. Good evening, DCPS leaders. I'm Dylan Craig, an English teacher and LSAT chair at Garnett-Patterson State Opportunity Academy. I thank you for holding this hearing and listening to the community regarding the funding of our schools. First, I want to advocate that DCPS follows the Schools First in Budgeting Act to ensure that our schools remain as stable as possible from year to year. Students feeling connected to school is one of the main goals for DCPS, but when schools are constantly shifting or eliminating positions to reshape the budget year after year, students can feel that state of flux, and it hurts their connection to the school because it hurts the consistency they see. It also hurts morale at the school, as looming budgetary uncertainty can create anxiety that hinders the staff members' ability to fully serve. Even if this legislation creates a logistical challenge or change for DCPS and central office, so much good can come from making schools sure schools are stable and always sufficiently funded from year to year. Central office works to support schools, but it cannot support what no longer exists due to budget cuts at the local school level. The local school level should always be a priority. Second, with consistency and stability in mind, I also ask that DCPS consider how partnerships with outside organizations impact the work at our schools. DCPS has partnered with XQ and has received a large sum of money to reimagine schools, but it is unclear what happens when this funding goes. It seems now that schools are on their own to cover new positions and programs that were started by XQ, again creating budgetary challenges and instability and jeopardizing any positive work that came from the partnership. These schools are real communities and not playgrounds for billionaire money to help expand their portfolio and leave schools to struggle and figure out the rest. Third, regarding the budgeting process, as we know, many students come to our school post-enrollment count day. This is especially true for opportunity academies who enroll students all throughout the year, but many schools take students who are unenrolled at a charter school, are new to the city or country, or need a new school for a variety of reasons. These students are then supported at their DCPS school without the actual funding, challenging the school's resources. I know this is not an easy fix, but having funding for these situations so schools can fully support students they receive post-count day could have incredibly positive impacts. Finally, as we know, the upcoming federal administration is going to be hostile to the city, the public schools, and our students, particularly our immigrant and LGBTQ students. This is not a time for an austerity budget. This is a time for robust funding that shows our students that we are investing in them, in their schools, and in their communities to help protect and promote their success and well-being. We must make sure that the current funding is going where it needs to so we can effectively resource our schools and move money in a way that makes sense and the Schools First in Budgeting Act can be followed. This is why I support the DC auditor's exploration of DCPS finances, and I hope DCPS cooperates fully so there's no uncertainty about where money is going and what we can and cannot move to meet the budgeting first legislation and protect our students moving forward. Thank you again for taking the time to listen.
Thank you. Okay, Davinia, did we get you worked out? I will check back in just a minute. Let's go to Maureen Perrone for Jacqueline Seward Clemens. Are you with us, Maureen?
Hi,
Okay.
yes, I'm with you.
Wonderful. I can hear you.
I just can't get my video working. Or it won't let me, oh, there we go. Hi, great.
I can see you.
Hi, my name is Maureen Perrone, and I'm a parent at Janney Elementary School. I am speaking on behalf of one of our teachers this evening, Jacqueline Seward Clemens, who is not able to be here as she is participating in a professional development with her colleagues. My name is Jacqueline Seward Clemens. I've worked at Janney Elementary School for 18 years. I've worked as the special education teacher for the first grade the past 3 years and the third grade before. 2 of my children now attend, a second grader and a kindergartner. I'm sorry I couldn't join tonight. I'm attending a math professional development session with our other teachers from my first grade team. We are working off hours to better support our students. Last year's proposed budget cuts were the most severe I've seen in my career within DCPS. The initial budget had us projected to lose 16 positions out of 85 positions. While the council and mayor worked on the budget, 16 staff members were given pink slips. This period greatly damaged the trust and relationships between staff and administration. With the council's actions, some of these staff members were able to be reinstated, but even for those who were saved, it caused pain. Among those cuts were a math TLI and an ELA coach, positions working with struggling students and teachers to improve our teaching practices. The school also lost a special education aide, front office staff member, a member of the custodial staff, and an art teacher. Enrollment is projected to increase again this year. If the budget is cut again, we will have even fewer staff members. Due to the reductions in staff, the teacher-to-student ratios continue to increase and a large demand on the remaining staff builds. We are lucky to still have custodial support, a part-time OT, a social worker, a school psychologist, a nurse, sometimes, but the school has over 700 children enrolled. It is not enough. And because of this, it is a necessity that every remaining staff member acts in a multitude of capacities. It's extraordinarily draining and the burnout is severe. Teachers and staff, those new and experienced, are quitting because the workload is unbearable and there's no relief in sight. To meet the first grade student service minutes the school is required to provide by law, I needed to give up my planning hours. To make it work, there's no room for flexibility in my schedule, even if it's in the best interest for the child. There are times children need to be pulled as they're entering the building. The schedule doesn't allow for optimal learning for students or allow me time to prepare. Most, if not all, teachers work more hours than the 40-hour work week, myself included. That means working after my 3 children are in bed and working in the morning before they wake up. I am gravely concerned with the budget season coming up and more cuts being discussed. We are working so incredibly hard just to operate with what we have, all while meeting the extraordinarily high numbers we're expected to, which see no adjustments based on our staffing. We can't keep reducing the staff and increasing student enrollment without consequence. Talk of quitting is a daily reality for many. With this increasing strain, our bubble will inevitably burst. Teachers will leave and go to other districts. The numbers will drop, students will leave the school, families will leave the neighborhood. Teachers and staff members play an integral part in Janney running smoothly so that our children feel safe, secure, and ready to learn. Despite the strain, our staff is dedicated to the students, community, and we have been present for many years. We need more funding for related services, custodial staff, front office, and teacher support. More, not less. Thank you for listening. Jacqueline Seward Clements. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Davinia, we're going to do this. We're going to get you up here.
Yes.
Oh,
The
I hear
third
you.
device. Yes, the third
Wonderful.
device finally worked.
Thank you for
Okay.
your perseverance.
So good evening. My name is Davinia C. I'm a Ward 7 resident and a parent of an elementary school student at a language immersion school in Ward 7, and on that school's advocacy committee within their PTO. Right now, Ward 7 has 3 elementary schools with language immersion or dual language programs in DCPS Speak, Spanish at Houston, Spanish and French at Stokes East End, and Mandarin at Global PCS. Despite this, there is no language immersion middle school east of the river. This means our children studying Spanish, French, or Mandarin hit a roadblock after 5th grade if they want to continue dual language in a neighborhood school. Thus, I'm requesting DCPS include funding for a dual language middle school east of the river in their upcoming budget. Why a language middle school specifically east of the river? Well, there are several reasons. Every child, regardless of their location or background or race, deserves access and is legally entitled to quality education close to home, with equitable access to the same enriching educational experiences as their peers. Currently, language students in Ward 7 only option is to continue their dual language program is traveling to DCI, a good 1 hour away in one direction for those of us east of the river, which is unacceptable. And why is language immersion option important for our students? To prepare our students for the global environment they will live in and to one day take advantage of employment opportunities in their own city, they deserve the opportunity. Our students need and deserve the opportunity to further their language acquisition skills in an immersion environment beyond elementary school. It's time for DCPS to be accountable to the students of Ward 7 and their tax-paying parents and caregivers who deserve the same continuity of programming as every other student in the district. Our kids want to go to school in their neighborhood and still have equitable access to the same enriching educational experiences as their peers across the city. They deserve that. I know it's a tough ask in the current budget season, but if not now, when? Why should it be east of the river students that suffer because of shortcomings in DCPS planning? There is no excuse. Aussie noted in 2019 that dual language has been a highly popular program offering where demand has vastly surpassed supply in DC for many years. Additionally, the boundary and assignment study calls for a public plan for ensuring dual access to language across the city by 2027. I'm appreciative of the study committee's work, but the timeline is absolutely unacceptable for a problem DCPS has known about since at least 2019. Please don't punish and harm our students' academic desires for the lack of coordination and planning between the multiple agencies that regulate our city's education system. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much. Next up will be Nora Stein speaking on behalf of Robin Nelson. I see you've popped up, Nora. I want to just give another second to see if we can work out your mic. While you're working on that, I'll read the next bunch and then come back to you and see if you're able to go up, and then we'll keep working on this. So the next batch will be Melanie Douglas, Daya Bilal Threats, Scott Goldstein, Barry Brinkley. So let's try Nora one more time while we're working on, see if we're able to get you off mic. Okay, let's try Melanie Douglas, and we will keep working with you, Nora. Melanie, are you able to come off? Okay, I see you're here, Melanie. Thank you, everybody, for your patience as we try to make sure that folks get a chance. Okay, so let's see. Let's see if the next person come off while we keep trying to work with the folks that I've named. Is it Daya? Daya?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, okay. I don't think I'm able. Oh, no, there I am. All right. Can you see me?
Yes, I can.
Well, hot dog. Okay. I'm ready when you are.
You're on.
All right. Good evening. I'm Daya Bilal-Threets. You pronounced it right the first time. I'm a 23-year DC homeowner and a parent to a 4th and 8th grader at John R. Francis Education Campus. I'm also a parent serving on our PTA and LSAT committees. There is only one thing that's ever made my husband and I decide or consider leaving DC after 23 years. And I know that we're not alone. And it's not the expensive housing, and it's not the daily crime alerts that you get on your phone. It is overcrowded classrooms and a budget that is too small to provide the staff that our students need, and too small to do what DCPS has asked our school to take on. If we and city leaders want families to stay in DC, kids in schools have to come first. John R. Francis Education Campus has to be staffed for the kind of equity and sense of belonging that DCPS names in its capital commitments document. We can't have or expect equity or a sense of belonging when we have too few teachers to provide the individualized instruction that our students need and deserve. Just a little bit about the Francis Education Campus. We are a Title I school. We are the largest pre-K through 8 education campus in the city, and we serve students from all 8 wards. Our enrollment last year was 479 kids. This year, it's 580, and next year it's projected to be 627. During all the times of increase over the years, we had been promised that our budget would be commensurate with the increase in our enrollment, and that has not happened yet. And our students and our families and staff are beginning to believe that it never will. So here's why we're asking for additional funding. Several of our grades are already over-enrolled, and DCPS has asked Francis Education Campus to add 3 new feeders next year because it wants to close Cardozo Middle School. Garrison, Cleveland, and Seton Elementary Schools will be feeders next year. We need a budget that will ensure that we will have the staffing and resources that we need to accommodate this large influx of students. For example, 109 fifth graders across those 3 schools. We, in addition to the 2 feeder schools, we already have Thompson and Ross, 42 from there, plus our current Francis students. That is 6 new school cultures coming together, being asked to merge together all at once. In order for us to set our students up for success, we need DCPS to give us a budget that's commensurate with the enrollment numbers that we're going to see, and to set us up for success, not for more frustration, stress, and disappointment. And we want to be ready on day one. We believe that we can meet the needs and the expectations that DCPS has set for us as an education campus, but only with sufficient funds and staffing support to help these 6 communities come together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, I'd like to try to revisit Nora Stein on behalf of Robin Nelson. I saw that Nora popped up again, and so let me just give a minute. I know there's been a little bit of a delay in taking folks.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm on.
Wonderful. I can hear you clearly.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Trying to enable my camera. I'm joining tonight. I'm a Janney Elementary School parent, and I'm not able to enable my camera. Sorry about that. Now I can do it. And I'm reading Robin Nelson's testimony. Robin's a first grade teacher at our school. She couldn't join tonight because she's also attending a professional development activity with the first grade team. Thank you for letting me share her testimony. As teachers in DCPS classrooms, it is our goal to educate children daily. This is a goal we strive to attain daily. However, with the budget constraints placed on so many of the district schools, it has been challenging, exhausting, and overwhelming to continue to meet the level of highly engaging teaching that we plan for daily. Due to the current budget cuts, classrooms are short-staffed, missing the required and needed SPED credentialed educator to work alongside us to achieve the learning for students. Many of us are teaching in classrooms that have more than 25 students in the room who have a range of needs and abilities, causing an unattainable level of differentiation and planning that cannot happen in the designed work hours. We as educators are dealing with an overwhelming, for both students and teachers, level of mandated testing for children from K through 5. It is completely unreasonable to ask a kindergarten student to take a test on an iPad before September 15th, when so many of them are still learning to read and write and have never tested on a computer. And let's be clear, testing is very different than finding Bluey on YouTube or asking Alexa to play Snoop Dogg affirmations. The testing is causing unprecedented levels of anxiety and pressure on young children that is not fair or healthy. Children, especially the students in K through 2, should be learning through play and experiencing the wonders of the world around them, not creating data that only shows that they don't know how to take a test. It is with this firsthand experience and knowledge in mind that we submit testimony asking that testing of our students be reduced dramatically, which would then provide a significant amount of money that could back into the budget and fund the needed positions of a SPED teacher in each classroom to co-teach with a general education teacher. This will not only provide a stronger learning environment for students, but will also begin to help close the educational gap between our students with different learning styles and needs. It also allows for the students who may not need an IEP or 504, but do need a little more one-to-one or small group intervention to receive support they need. If DCPS is committed to educating and nurturing the whole child, then not cutting the budget further and reinstating the funds that caused a reduction in staff should be of the utmost priority. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's see. Melanie, are you with us now? Okay, I know we were working. Okay, Melanie, I see you've popped up. So let's make sure that we get you off.
Can you hear me?
Now we can hear you.
Yay.
Thank you for your patience.
Thank you. Okay. All right, I'm on the phone, which made it work better. Hello, I am the parent co-chair of the LSAT at GNE Elementary School. Last year was my first year on the LSAT and my first introduction to the chaotic DCPS budget process. When the 24-25 DCPS budget was first unveiled last February, GNE's budget cut on paper was $216,000, with a purchasing deficit of about $1.2 million, or 16 total staff positions, ranging from classroom teachers, custodial staff, special education teachers, front office staff, academic coaches, and numerous specials positions. For a school that served almost 700 students, one of the larger elementary schools in the city, this was devastating. Thanks to the efforts and coordination of the DC City Council, especially Ward 3 Councilman Matt Fruman, we ultimately recouped much of our budget shortfall. Still, the damage was done. Staff members whose jobs were not guaranteed for our current school year sadly went elsewhere. Administrators spent the summer months refilling those positions, unnecessary transitions for students and staff. Other staff positions ceased to exist because our leaner budget simply didn't allow for them. GNE has surpassed its enrollment goals and is bursting at the seams. A projected 695 turned into 717 students. Yet we have one fewer custodian than we did last year. For a school with robust programming from 7:30 a.m. to 6 p.m., there are 4 custodians, down from last year's 5. The result of this? It is difficult to keep a school of this size adequately clean, and this year the mice problem became noticeable by students and demoralizing to staff. A mouse even ran across our principal's desk during our October LSAT. GNE is bursting at the seams, and yet we have not had a consistent nurse, a problem felt all around the district. School administrators take time out of their day to dispense medications and take care of sick children. GNE is bursting at the seams, and yet members of our student support team are shared among multiple other schools. Teachers need more support, not less. Our students need more support, not less. With our projected enrollment for next school year continuing to increase, I ask that you fully staff GNE Elementary School next year and do not subject schools to the budgeting chaos that happened last year. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Scott Goldstein.
Thank you for the opportunity to testify about the DCPS budget for the upcoming fiscal year. I want to start by acknowledging the context in which we all live. Any suggestion that this is a tight budget year and we must cut back must be placed against the backdrop of the headlines that we may read in the coming months. Headlines like military deployed in major cities in Trump's mass deportation effort, schools at risk. Headlines like federal budget passed with major cuts to Medicare, Medicaid, and food assistance. The idea that we would cut back in a year where we know the federal government is going to do substantially less for our most vulnerable residents is irresponsible. We must do more to protect our students and families in the coming year and raise new revenue as a city to do it. To do anything less is to prematurely surrender the protection of our students that we are charged with caring for. This is the card we have been dealt and the challenge of our time. Additionally, the DME and DCPS should immediately seek the legal guidance they need to declare our school sanctuary schools, protect student information and data from the federal government, and ensure protections for LGBTQ students. In that context, we're calling for DCPS to make sure our budgets stay stable, adequate, and equitable in light of threats to the Department of Education. We must ensure that we have sufficient funding for special education, teacher professional development, and dedicated funding for Title I schools. To do this, we must ensure schools are at a minimum held harmless. This means not just maintaining budgets in real dollars, but in purchasing power. We recommend reinstating elements of the comprehensive staffing model to ensure equitable provision of services and programs across schools. To ensure high quality instruction every single day and protect teacher planning time so they can deliver high quality instruction the next day, we must ensure that every school has at least one permanent in-building substitute per 250 students. We can also support teachers by expanding co-teaching models past early grades. DC must invest more in innovative, flexible scheduling models so that teachers have the time they need to plan, collaborate, engage families, give students feedback, and have the time they need for themselves and their own families to sustain themselves in this profession. To strengthen the pipeline, DCPS should be working with schools to recruit bilingual educators and paying visa costs for immigrant educators across the board. And to increase teacher expertise, we recommend DCPS begin paying for educators to obtain national board certification. Finally, $250 simply is not enough money in teacher supply cards. DCPS should ensure adequate funding for all educators, including paraprofessionals, to have devices. And finally, already in November, educators are digging into their pockets, and we need to make it easier for them to replenish supplies. To improve the student experience, attendance, and address root causes of inequity, DCPS should invest in an expansion of connected schools. We must also invest in experiential learning and field trips. DCPS must invest in ensuring high-quality transportation for field trips that is easy for teachers to secure and can safely transport students with disabilities. We must ensure, even as we try to provide individualized support and tutoring to improve math and reading outcomes, we invest in so many other parts of the curriculum that make students want to come to school every day. That's why we should use the comprehensive staffing model to ensure a related arts allocation, not just for elementary school, but high school as well. The CSM should lower the ELO rate to increase need. We suggest 13-1. And the demand for study abroad has also increased to outpace availability. We asked DCPS and the council to ensure funding to expand from the current 120 to 240 students in the coming year, which will cost about $800,000. Finally, we must improve the budget process itself. DCPS must work with the council to ensure there's no back and forth again that destabilizes our schools and fails to allow proper planning in the spring. DCPS should give LSATs more time to review and approve budgets. The year ahead presents daunting challenges. Let's not cower before the threats or impose a deficit mindset on ourselves. The success of our students and families depends on our courage and our investments. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Barry Brinkley. Okay, Barry, I see you've been spotlit. I'll give you a moment so that we can work out. While we're working on mute for Barry, I will read the next batch. Dana Springer, Nick Wurst, Regina Bell, Jonna Turner, and Lynette Preston. And those will be our final testifiers, I believe. Let's go back and see if Barry is ready to offer their testimony. Okay, let's see. Okay, we are going to continue to try to work with you on the back end, Barry. While we're doing that, let's try for Dana Springer.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. Good evening. My name is Dana Springer. I'm the parent of 2 students at the School Without Walls High School and co-chair of the school's LSAT. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. I have 3 points to share. First, budget stability is essential. Unexpected cuts, even temporary, disrupt school operations and have long-term consequences, including staff departures, reduced student learning, and loss of public trust. When the mayor and chancellor released school budgets for the 2024-25 school year, School Without Walls was forced to cut 2 positions, even though our school's enrollment had not decreased. After months of advocacy by students and families, the DC Council, and particularly Council Member Brooke Pinto, took action and these positions were reinstated. However, in the meantime, 2 valued teachers lost their jobs and left the school. The 2 positions were filled, but the damage was done. And this happened in schools across the city. The mayor and chancellor need to adhere to the schools first in budgeting law. The law requires that budgets provide schools with no less than the funding they received the previous year and keep up with increased costs. The intent of the law is for schools to be able to rely on funding stability instead of the chaos that has been typical for so many budget seasons. Moreover, schools with stable enrollment should not be penalized by the budget formula. Schools First should also protect budgets for schools that have stable enrollment and which cannot increase enrollment, like our school, because of our space constraints. The mayor and chancellor need to work with DC Council to determine a productive path forward with Schools First. All schools in the district need budget stability. Second, budgets and enrollment must take into consideration school facilities. School Without Walls students love their high school and the college environment that comes with being within the George Washington University campus. However, the building is overcrowded to an extent that is unhealthy and impacts student learning. Our school has an enrollment of 605 students in a building with a capacity for 520. Last year's master facilities plan showed that our school had a 136% utilization rate and rated the building as having the lowest educational adequacy score of all DCPS schools. Most of our 38 teachers share classrooms and spend their days in windowless basement rooms. The building doesn't have an auditorium, gymnasium, or playing fields. For many years, our partnership with George Washington University has helped meet our needs for space to hold assemblies, mandated testing, and classes, but we can no longer rely on the university to meet our space needs. Our students travel all over the city for athletics, and families fill in the gaps with funding and transportation. Moreover, our building systems are failing. School administrators spend an extraordinary amount of time reporting and following up on problems when their time should be spent supporting instruction. Last year's master facilities plan found that there were 59 work orders per square foot in the 2019-2020 school year, one of the highest rates across the city. Our school needs resources that help administrators address the lack of on-site instructional and recreational space and manage ongoing issues with the building. Finally, it's important that schools have sufficient time to review initial budgets. In the past, principals and LSATs have had less than 1 week to review budgets and respond. This is not enough time to determine whether an initial budget will support a school's needs, and when it's not sufficient, to determine how to proceed. I ask the DCPS create a budget timeline that gives school leadership and LSATs more time to review their budgets. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Let's try for Barry again. Okay, we're still supporting Barry on the back end. Let's move on to Nick Wurst.
Hi there. My name is Nick Wirch, and I am a member of the Family Teacher Organization at Truesdale Elementary School in Ward 4, and I'm a parent of a pre-K4 student. As you develop your budget for fiscal year 26, we wish to raise several important issues from our community. So first, funding allocations and enrollment projections. So over the last several years, DCPS enrollment projections for Truesdale have been consistently lower than the number of students who end up attending Truesdale. We understand our projection numbers are no longer based on a count day, and they are now based on this year's enrollment, but it is known that enrollment dips when a school is in a swing space. And prior to modernization, Truesdale was at 460 students. Our current enrollment is at 375. This is problematic as we are expecting enrollment to pick back up once again, once we are back in our new building. So in summary, our budget is cut dramatically only to be reinstated over the summer, but the money does not become available until late in the fall. And the cycle is unproductive, shortchanges our special education students, new teachers, and other members of our community. Our principal is submitting a petition for a higher enrollment projection, and we ask that you approve that petition. Second, Truesdale's new building maintenance. Truesdale is currently in the last year of its modernization project, and it's on track to be done for the next school year. We're excited to be moving back into a beautiful new building, but it is critical that DCPS work with the Department of General Services to ensure strong maintenance for the new building and to ensure any issues are immediately spotted, reported, and fixed while the building is still under warranty. Third, resources for English language learners. Truesdale has a high number of ELL students and families, and we need the proper funding to provide adequate support, services, staffing, and resources to help those students succeed. Fourth, additional staff professional development for trauma response. We'd like DCPS to consider more trauma response training for the professional development of our socio-behavioral staff. With possible changes in policy at the federal level, those staff members may have a lot more to do to support students who are separated from family or who fear separation. And it's important our staff and teachers have the tools they need to be able to help those students. Fifth and last, funding for the newly ratified contract with the Washington Teachers Union. We support our union teachers, and it is essential that DCPS account for the pay increases for teachers that will occur under the new union contract, and that will help with teacher retention and long-term teacher and staff communities at our schools. Thank you very much for your time. I think it's worth just noting that there are a few common themes you're hearing through all of the testimony you've already heard today. A lot of it comes back to making sure schools are adequately funded on the front end of a school year, meaning teachers, staff, and services are properly accounted for, and we're not underestimating the needs of those students and communities. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we will move on to Regina Bell.
Good evening, Chancellor. I am Regina Bell, General Vice President of the Washington Teachers Union. I hope I am as thoughtful and articulate as the students from Marie Reed and Bancroft. The WTU is dedicated to social and educational justice for all students of the District of Columbia and to improving the quality of support, resources, and working conditions for the public servants and proud teachers who educate our students in DCPS. The teachers in DCPS wear many hats and they play a crucial role in students' lives. We'd like DCPS to recognize the significance of this role and show deference. You can show respect by taking the politics out of the budget process. Fully fund special education. These are our most vulnerable students. They all have legally binding document that details their educational needs. Yet many self-contained special ed classes are over capacity. Those classrooms are not safe and there are not enough adults, teachers, and paraprofessionals to meet the students' needs. Resource teachers are pulled to substitute, and therefore their students do not receive the required special education instruction. In some schools, teachers are listed as special educators, but they do not teach special education students. This is not acceptable. Reduce the number of tests students take. Make school fun again. Kindergarten students are required to take iReady Math, iReady Reading, RCTs, and DIBELS. The number of tests is excessive, and some are not developmentally appropriate. In addition, it's turning kids off from wanting to come to school. Many schools report that they have high attendance on the day that students have food prints. Invest in more experiential learning. Technology needs to be maintained and kept up to date. Budget and schedule a refresh cycle for devices for students and teachers. Upgrade and maintain internet connectivity. This technology is necessary to provide students with a 21st century education. School budgets need a more stable and consistent funding plan to ensure that the most effective programs for students are funded during the next budget cycle. We must find ways to continue funding those effective programs that support student social and emotional learning, as well as meet their academic needs. SEL needs need to be met before students can learn. Therefore, SEL needs to be a priority. Fund school libraries, which are essential in supporting student development of lifelong critical thinking and problem-solving skills. For the last 2 years, DC librarians have enabled students and educators to utilize over 1 million print and online resources that influence imagination, creativity, and foundational knowledge essential for the science of reading. Don't ask our teachers and principals to do more with less. For some students, school is the most stable part of their day. Let's not cause more disruption in their lives by cutting school budgets. Thank you for allowing me to testify.
Thank you. Okay. All right, let's try Barry again. I think we have worked through our technology. Give a moment for him to come on, for them to come on.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you for your perseverance.
No problem. Thank you all. Well, thank you to Chancellor Farabee and to all our other district and DCPS leadership here. My name is Barry Brinkley. I am the Executive Director for Reading Partners DC. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you all tonight regarding the need for Reading Partners DC and DCPS schools. Reading Partners DC is an education nonprofit that invests in students and communities by recruiting, training, and supporting community volunteers to provide individualized literacy tutoring to elementary students in a number of DC schools, mostly DCPS schools, with the goal of creating lifelong readers. We provide individualized instruction both in person and virtually. This allows us to expand our reach as volunteers can choose which mode of tutoring works best for their schedules, and our students benefit from either working with a volunteer in person or experiencing the tutoring session virtually while sitting in the school's reading center with support from our team. We're excited to share that we're approaching our 15th year serving students in schools in the district. This school year, we're serving in 15 schools or community sites. 11 of these are DCPS sites. Over the course of these past 15 years, we've heard stories from young people who are now in high school and beyond. They speak about the impact of our program on their literacy journeys and their lives. While these stories are extremely encouraging, we've been disheartened by the number of schools who are no longer able to afford to have reading partners to support the work to increase student literacy in their buildings. We are thankful for the investment the district has made in high impact tutoring. We hope that this means that we can serve more DCPS schools in the future. Literacy is the foundation of all successful learning. Without reading, students do not have the skills they need to be successful in school or in life. Nationwide, fewer than 1 in 5 students from low-income households are reading proficiently by the 4th grade, which equates to about 8.7 million children. Students who are not reading proficiently by 4th grade are 4 times less likely to graduate from high school on time, which is why we concentrate on grades K through 4 with our program. Last school year, 453 students participated in 12 or more tutoring sessions in our 14 Reading Partners reading centers. Unfortunately, this is down from the more than 700 students we saw the year prior to that in 22 reading centers. Again, because of the schools having to let go of our services because not being able to afford to have reading partners in their building. Even still, 89% of our reading partner students in grades kinder through 4th grade met or exceeded their primary literacy growth goals, which is a measure that we use to determine students' readiness to read. 94% of our kinder through 2nd grade students mastered their foundational literacy skills across all of our reading sites. In addition, over 10,000 books were distributed to students in these 14 partner schools, 8 of which were DCPS schools, in the 2023-2024 school year. As DCPS determines next year's budget, we hope that reading partners and our collaboration with schools will be considered. If we are truly to change the lives and trajectories of our students, we have to invest in necessary resources to do so. We know that reading is a civil right, and it is not just for certain students from certain families in certain neighborhoods. It is a right for everyone. At Reading Partners, we want to ensure that students are exercising this right at an early age to ensure they are set up for success at school and in life. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we will go to Jonna Turner. Oh, I see you. I cannot hear you, but it doesn't look like you're muted. Oh, can't hear you. No, still can't. Still not able to hear. No. Let us work with you on the back end, and then we will let Miss Preston, familiar face, if you are able to come off, and then Miss Jonna, if you're able to log off and log back on using your phone, people seem to be having success with that. So if you could try to work on that, and then Lynette Preston, if you can come off.
I am.
Okay, great.
Good evening. I'm going to start by saying thank you for this opportunity. However, I did not expect to testify, so I do not have anything prepared. I will say that I've been on from the beginning, and I've been listening to the testimony of several parents, staff members, community members, and organizations I hear some consistencies and a lack of preparation for the increase of the population in Washington, D.C., and the reality that those people will begin to create families and increase enrollment in several areas. I hear Janie, I hear Bancroft. Well, that's up here in Upper Northwest that has had a massive boom in residents. So I would consider DCPS taking a more realistic look at who's actually living in what communities and the increase in children across the board from pre-K 3 up, since those are grades, ages that are supported by DCPS. I also wanted to mention a disparity in representation in those that are testifying. I think some consideration needs to be looked at into how you secure people to testify. There is I heard the word equity used often in testimonies. However, there is no equity in the representation of schools and wards in the city. So I take issue with that definitely, as I'm someone that while I live in Ward 4, I work in Ward 7. And I only heard one testimony that speaks specifically to the students in Ward 7. I also had a chance to review this schools first in budgeting, but this is an emergency amendment. So I'm curious to know why it's still in place. There's conversation about pandemic money. Why is this still being, why is this still the rule that is dictating school budgets? That makes no sense. This reflects an expectation of additional funds to come from the federal government due to pandemic issues and challenges that need to be fixed due to the pandemic. Is that money still coming? Why is it being considered? I heard some definite points that I think are relevant. Special education, ELL, transfers as a former registrar that worked east of the river. I can tell you that populations almost double around November and December with no consideration to budget. I had teachers, the freshman English teachers had just 30 kids in her class. I think there is a lack of consideration to the real expectation of our kids while they are in these schools, and a lack of support for families, new families to the city that are unaware how things historically have worked, and other families that are considered the voiceless that come from communities where there are more students of need and support. So lots of things to unpack and fix in this budget conversation.
Thank you very much. Next, we will go back to Jonna. After Jonna, we have one more, which will be, I'm sorry, thank you for your patience, which will be John Ruffing. So let's go, Jonna. I see you popped up.
Yes, can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Okay. Thank you. And I just want to thank the person, I think her name was Lynette, and everything she just said. My name is Jonna Turner. I'm here on behalf of Community Advocacy and Resources for Education, Washington, D.C., CARE DC. We are a community-based chapter-driven movement dedicated to serving marginalized school communities by utilizing the power of our community to enforce change. CARE DC is in neighborhoods filled with great community potential and are eager to mobilize people, impact policy, and increase funding. The purpose of being neighborhood focused with its own staff and volunteers is to ensure CARE values are at the forefront: proximity, community, and resource mobilization. Our current chapters are 501c3 entities based in Greater Anacostia and Brookland neighborhoods. We're here today because every family wants their child's education to be liberating, empowering, and equitable. Educators often exhaust all their creativity and passion to provide these three components, but are working against a school budget that is maintaining the status quo, systemic inequity. Through hundreds of hours of conversations, meetings, workshops, and more with our stakeholders, the desires of our youth for our youth in each neighborhood fall into three buckets: safe school, student joy, and a strong feeder pattern. Safe schools. Care Anacostia operates in 5 schools in Greater Anacostia neighborhood that feed into each other. 3 out of the 5 schools we support have a connected schools manager, and the difference is noticeable. The impact of the managers elevates the whole child, whole school, and whole community approach. Because of this additional support, sustainable and meaningful partnerships are created, family voices are elevated, and community resources are intentionally distributed. Underrepresented, under-resourced, and underfunded school communities need to have a support person that will accelerate the outcomes of all students. Because of systemic racism, Black communities are often destabilized. Connected schools managers work as a stabilizing force to increase upward progress to meet student and family needs. If funding is used for HIT, then funding must be directed towards connected schools managers in each Title I school in Washington, D.C. to create support, stability, and progress for disinvested schools and communities. Student joy. The literacy rate in our Care Anacostia schools collectively is less than 10%. We do not believe this is a student, family, or educator issue, but rather a systems issue where dollars are not directed to educate Black and Brown students as if they are the future of the city, but rather a data point to reach. Educators are complaining about over-testing their students. Families have stated that children have increased anxiety because of the onslaught of testing, and the results are abysmal with no clear solution of course correcting over-testing. Our current state of education is flavorless. We need dollars to be used to elevate field-based learning and fully integrate experiential learning to increase student engagement, family support, and educator excitement. We must educate our children as if the future is ahead of them. And I'm going to ask for additional 30 seconds. Strengthening the feeder pattern by addressing the issues. The hopes and dreams of our communities and schools are big yet basic. The basic needs of our schools are not being met, which leads to deep public health concerns. The basics range from unfulfilled work orders requests to address leaking ceilings to needing permanent substitute teachers available to build relationships and maintain school culture and help move classrooms forward in lieu of a teacher. In addition, the quality of mental health support is paramount. Before the pandemic, there was a need that needed to be addressed. Now we're in a crisis mode. The explosion of social media, isolation, negative influential forces, and the inability to developmentally manage and navigate this medium is leaving many students without the emotional intelligence to navigate the real world. Families are in a conundrum because phones are used as a safety tool, and without trust in school systems, families do not know how to mitigate this issue. Our children deserve more. They require urgent, drastic, and revolutionary change that starts from the community and makes its way to the top. At CARE DC, we believe that every dollar is crucial for progress, civil rights, and the future of Washington, DC. I will leave with this question. Are we using funding to educate students who can successfully afford to live in this city? I hope so. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And our last public testifier will be Sean Ruffing. Sean, are you with us? You've popped up here. We're going to try to give a brief moment to see if we can work out the tech issues here. John, are you able to come back using your phone? That seems to be what's been most successful for folks. So give a brief moment for that because we are otherwise going to be ready to wrap. Okay, I think we will be concluding at this moment. I'd like to pass it back over to Chancellor Farabee to offer closing remarks.
Thank you, Lauren, and thank you to everyone for your valuable feedback. We had opportunity tonight to hear from students, parents, staff members, partners, community members, and we'll certainly consider all of your feedback as we begin the journey of developing the budget for the 25-26 school year. Again, a reminder, as I shared earlier, this is the beginning of the process in November, December, as we begin to look at enrollment projections and our engagement with the LSAT community begin, and which will go into the new year, and then we will deliver budgets to school. Ultimately, will be submitted to part of the mayor's budget, and then there's council approval. We are working to ensure that we get the budgets to school as soon as possible. I know we heard from several people tonight about timeline and giving schools maximum opportunity to digest and make good decisions about how to best serve their school communities. We also heard about facility interests in buildings and space and capacity. We will also, in concert with our operating budget, we'll be building our capital budget to be responsive to our capital needs, including our modernizations, our swing, and our small capital projects. We will continue to keep you informed. And again, we're really grateful for your participation tonight and your valuable feedback. Thank you and have a good evening.